Hey everybody, Evan Freiberger here, and we've got some weather to talk about. And looking at the pressure map here, you can see that we do have this little low pressure system over here, which is going to be responsible and kind of move up to the northeast. Going to be responsible for some snowflakes down here in the southeast, and then eventually that freezing line kind of dips down and is going to bring a little bit more snowfall up there for the Ohio Valley, going up into Pennsylvania and into the northeast. And then after this moves off, you can see we got another little piece of energy over here centered over the Great Lakes. This is going to bring maybe a little bit of a clipper system, some light snowfall up here near the Great Lakes. Definitely going to go over that in today's forecast as well. And then looking over to the west, we have a low pressure system just off the coast. It's going to be throwing little pieces of energy into the United States, causing some of that precipitation there on the west coast. We're also going to be covering that. And then as that low pressure system moves across the United States, you can see it starts to pull into Texas. And this is eventually going to be a storm that we're going to have to monitor here. But right now, the information on this storm is a little bit uncertain, but we're going to be going over all of that in today's forecast. So let's go over here and see what these pressure systems look like on the ground. Let me rewind this all the way back here. You can see that we do have some snow still occurring over there in Illinois and Indiana, with some snowflakes actually being reported as far south into Alabama and Georgia already today. And then that's going to kind of move off to the east. And you can see we have a little frontal boundary here that's going to be picking up some moisture from the Great Lakes and bringing some snow into the Ohio Valley, parts of Pennsylvania, into New York, and then also into Maine as well. Not really expecting any significant impact with that, but some snowflakes nonetheless are going to be expected with that. And then pushing this all the way through, you can see we have another little piece of energy move into the southeast here with mainly just scattered rain. Not really talking about any severe weather potential with this, maybe not even any thunder with this at all. And unfortunately, doesn't look like there's going to be much snow at all with that piece of energy. And then as we move in pretty much to the end of the range of accuracy here, you can see that little low pressure system that starts to move into the Texas region here at around Wednesday is going to be bringing in some chances maybe for some snow. Again, this snow is going to be really it's going to change the most out of everything with this storm, but you could see maybe a small potential for severe weather, but mainly just rain out of this. So definitely something that we're going to have to monitor, see how it develops as the models get closer. And that is going to be projected to kind of stay up into the southeast initially as we move into Wednesday here. But let's go ahead and take a little bit of a closer look at the differences between the models to kind of get a range of what we can expect out of the snowfall up here in the Ohio Valley, going up in the northeast and down into the southeast. This is the HRRR, and as you can see, a lot of these snowflakes are going to be turning into rain as it moves down into the southeast. So unfortunately, for some folks, you're going to feel that really annoying nonstop cold rain out of this, that misty kind of cold rain, with some areas still experiencing the chance for some snowflakes going into the overnight hours and into the morning hours of Saturday. And then pushing this through, you can see we have some snow showers over here in Kentucky and Tennessee. Also, snow showers still existing over here in Indiana, going into Ohio in Saturday morning. And then that starts to spread into the northeast as well. And then pushing this forward a little bit more here, you can see that this snow is going to really be all the way from Ohio Valley all the way up into Maine. It's going to be some light snow, maybe some dusting to a couple inches of snow accumulation, really spreading from Ohio up into New York, up into the northeast, up into Maine. It's probably where you're going to get the most snow, which is in Maine, and we're going to be going over those snowfall amounts here in just a little bit. But yeah, the storm is not over. It's still kicking, and it still is going to bring a little bit more snow on the backside, coming over to the NAM, kind of comparing and contrasting solutions here. You can see down there in the southeast, maybe a little bit more coverage there with these snow showers. Still sparse, few and far between, so there's no guarantee down there that you're going to see a snowflake, but definitely keep your eye out as we go into the nighttime hours early Saturday. And you can see that little band of snow is a little bit more consistent here, a little bit more thicker here on the NAM, going up into the Ohio Valley and up into the northeast there, and then pushing this throughout the day of Saturday. That snow really starts to clear out as we get into Sunday morning. And then with this model, we can actually start to see this little low pressure system that's going to be coming through the Great Lakes that might bring another little chance for a dusting. Not really expecting too much heavy snow out of this right now, but again, things could change as we get closer. But there's just not a lot of moisture that's going to be available for this guy, as it's not really a strong low pressure system. Coming over to the estimated snowfall amounts from here going into Sunday morning, you can see that we do have some dusting going to be possible all the way from Indiana, Illinois, going up into the Ohio Valley, around an inch, going up into Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, and Maine's going to be the winner out of this part of the storm. But yeah, the GFS is pretty conservative here on these, and we'll go over the different models and see the different range of possibilities here. This is the HRRR model, and going all the way out here, you can see that it's kind of in agreement with a little bit less of a dusting down here in like parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, and then kind of agreeing here a little bit more in terms of those, dusting to an inch amounts, and then Maine getting the most amount of snow, but not as much as the GFS. You can see the GFS has 2 to 3, maybe even getting up into the 5 to 7 inch range, and the HRRR is around that 2 to 3 inch range. So, a bunch of different views here, but there is definitely some consistency there of, mainly just a dusting is going to be left for a pretty large area. So you guys, you might see some snowflakes and you might even get some accumulations up there. Now, coming over to the NAM, just the last look, this one had the most bullish run here. And then going into, Sunday morning here, you can see, a little bit of a dusting over here near Indiana, Illinois, going up into Ohio, maybe a little bit more, 1.5 inches there along the coast there of Lake Erie. And then in New York, a little bit more of a widespread, little spotty spots around New York of 1 to 2 inches there in the little blue spots there. And then as we go up to the Northeast, it's kind of in the middle ground of the GFS and the HRRR, maybe agreeing with the GFS a little bit more. So there's a little bit more consistency here in terms of getting up into the 4 to 5 inches there for Maine, and then elsewhere, there's pretty much good agreement that snowflakes are going to happen, but not a whole lot of accumulation out of this. Now, moving over to the winds with this storm, as you can see, as this pushes off over there near in New York, near the Great Lakes there, you can see winds are going to be able to gust up to 30 miles per hour there, and then those winds kind of move down to the south a little bit with widespread, around 20 mile per hour wind gusts possible out of this storm, and then that kind of continues all the way through Saturday for the same areas, with a little bit more wind starting to pick up on the backside of this thing, going into Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio with those 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts, and then things start to calm down as we get into Saturday evening, our Sunday evening. Now, moving on to the west, we do have that low pressure system off of the west coast, and that's going to be bringing in some rain for California region here. And you can see that's going to be pretty much all the way along the not the east coast, the west coast. As this moves through the west coast, you can see that it's going to be kind of a brief shot, but there's definitely going to be some precipitation with this and rainfall with it. Then we have another system come in that moves through kind of just the extreme southern California. This is a little bit more uncertain. If this shifts up a little bit more to the north, could maybe get a little bit more rain impacts there for Los Angeles. If it goes to the south, it might just miss California altogether. But that is eventually going to be that low pressure system that starts to form over here in Texas as we go into Wednesday. And then also as we move into Wednesday, you can see that we have another low pressure system that has the chance of bringing some rain showers and some wind over here for the west coast. So, a couple storms over there. So let's go see what these impacts are going to be. The main impacts are going to be the precipitation amounts with this. As you can see, moving this all the way through, you got that first wave come in, drops about an inch along the coast there of California with some, spotty, barely any rain accumulation up to a half an inch up there in the northern part of the west coast. And then you got the other system that moves through and potentially adds a couple more tenths of an inch to the southern part of California. But again, that's a little bit more uncertain. And then as we push this through, you can see those precipitation amounts start to pick up over here in Texas as we move into Wednesday. So, definitely a little bit of weather over here, but nothing too serious. There might be some isolated low chances of flooding along the west coast, but it shouldn't all fall at once, and it'll be pretty brief. So it's probably a pretty low chance of flooding, if any. But yeah, so that's that. Now moving on to the national temperatures here, and as you can see, currently it is cold across a lot of the United States, especially down there in the southeast. We do not like this amount of cold, but elsewhere it's pretty average. As you go up into the northern plains and going into the northeast, you can see that you're hovering right around that 30 below freezing, so just under 32 degrees Fahrenheit up there for a lot of folks. And then it kind of dips down maybe into the mid 20s as you go into South and North Dakota. And then along the mountains, of course, it's warmer there, and also warmer here in some pockets there on the north, on the southwest, and then going down into southern Florida, then pushing this all the way through. You can see that cold air kind of sticks around, doesn't really go anywhere. Maybe it gets a little bit colder over here in the northern plains, going down into the Ozarks here, hitting around that 20-25 degree Fahrenheit region there, and then still staying pretty cool with maybe a little bit more of a warm up along the Gulf Coast. Pushing this even further, it just kind of stays the same. That cold air kind of sticks around and doesn't really go anywhere, but we don't get any really big shots of cold air. So still, the temperatures are going to mainly be in that typical winter, a little bit above average for a lot of folks out there as well. And this is what it is compared to normal. The anomaly map here, and you can see that it's going to be cooler than normal in the southeast, and it's going to continue to be warmer than normal for a lot of the country. So although it feels cold and it feels like a typical winter, you can see that the temperatures are going to be a little bit above average as we move in. And then oops, I pushed this way too far. Sorry, got a little bit distracted there. But yeah, going into so let's start at the beginning. So going into Friday, going into Saturday, cooler than average in the southeast, still warmer than average across the most of the country. Then around Monday, things start to cool down in the southeast again, cooler than average, still warmer than average across most of the country. And then going over into Wednesday, see pretty much the same, cooler than average in the southeast, warmer than average in the northern parts of the country going into the west. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything that I have to talk about today. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this forecast, and I will see you guys on the next video.